One of President Trump's first executive orders in office declassified records concerning the assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., and Senator Robert F. Kennedy. And now the FBI has said it has discovered around 2,400 records related to the assassination of JFK after a search for documents following the order. News Nation's Brian Enton has more on the discovery of the still secret records.
It has been 2.5 weeks since President Trump signed an executive order indicating that he wanted all of the confidential JFK records to be released. And now this bombshell news that thousands of records that apparently no one even knew existed have been located. When Trump signed the executive order, he said everything will be revealed, but when that will happen and what will be revealed is still a mystery. JFK was shot and killed in Dallas, of course, in 1963. Investigators determined communist activist Lee Harvey Oswald killed President Kennedy. But conspiracy theories about the assassination have continued to thrive for decades, and the FBI now released a new statement that says the FBI conducted a new record search pursuant to President Trump's executive order issued on January 23, 2025, regarding the declassification of the assassination files of JFK, RFK, and MLK. The search resulted in approximately 2,400 newly inventoried and digitized records that were previously unrecognized as related to the JFK assassination case file. Now, the FBI says they're working to transfer the newly discovered records to the National Archives and Records Administration for what they call the ongoing declassification process. You'll remember that originally, when Trump was in office the first time, he said he wanted to declassify the records then, but then the FBI and CIA interfered and said it was not a good idea, so he put it off. Now he says will be the time that it finally comes out. Back to you.
Thank you, Brian Enton. The Trump administration is facing pushback from the courts over its efforts to overhaul the federal government. The administration's move, led by Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency, are being challenged on multiple fronts. And now a federal judge says the administration failed to comply with an order to unfreeze billions of dollars in federal grants. Plus, today a judge has ordered health agencies to restore data scrubbed by the Trump administration. Joining me to discuss, Zach Schonfeld, courts and legal reporter here at The Hill. Zach, so just now we got this ruling. It came down on DOGE's access to the Treasury Department. What's the latest?
Hey, Drew, this is now the latest development in this fight over Elon Musk's DOGE getting access to these critical Treasury Department payment systems that are used to dole out trillions of dollars of payments each year. Everything from Social Security payments to Medicare benefits to everything in between. This is an order that has clarified a ruling that was issued in the pre-dawn hours of Saturday morning that imposed sweeping restrictions on who could access those systems, blocking Elon Musk, DOGE, and political appointees. That was a ruling that led to swift criticism from Trump and his allies. They really stepped up their attacks on the courts over the weekend and even raised concerns among some legal experts that they might be setting the stage for not complying with it. But as all of that discussion has been happening in the court of public opinion over the last few days, we've seen the Justice Department go back in court and seek to wipe that ruling. So the judge has declined to do that. It kept keeping a lot of the main terms of this ruling in place, but she did agree to loosen some of the restrictions. So, for example, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who the administration had warned would be prohibited from accessing the systems. The judge here is making clear he can access the systems. Also making clear that some federal contractors who help maintain some of these systems, they also can resume access. But Elon Musk and DOGE, they are still prohibited.
Yeah, and we also got another ruling today in a lawsuit challenging how the Trump administration took down data posted on health agencies' websites. So is the government now going to have to restore these data sets?
At least temporarily, that is the case under this new order issued by a judge, this emergency temporary restraining orders, after a left-leaning physicians group had sued over the Trump administration scrubbing these various online data sets from the CDC, FDA, and other health agencies' websites. These data sets were scrubbed after Trump issued an executive order on his first day in office, officially recognizing that there are only two sexes. So this is part of his crackdown on what the administration has called gender ideology. So the administration ordered health agencies to take down any data sets that would be covered under this gender ideology order. And so then this suit came saying that that actually violated a federal law requiring that agencies give notice before they take down these big information data sets. So the judge coming in with this emergency ruling telling the administration they need to put these data sets back up. This is only a temporary ruling, however. The judge will soon hold another hearing about whether to grant a longer pause.
And when it comes to these federal grants, this is the first time that a judge has declared that the administration has failed to obey a judicial mandate. Are we headed for a showdown between the courts and the federal government?
That really does seem to be the case. The Trump administration, even after the judge had effectively said that they had been disobeying the court's ruling, the Justice Department here really still fighting tooth and nail in court. They have now appealed this ruling and asking for it to be stayed, asking for it to be temporarily put on hold, trying to put some of these funding freezes back in effect. But we've been seeing across many of these various lawsuits regarding what was originally a widespread federal funding freeze, that OMB memo that has now been rescinded. We've seen plaintiffs in these cases saying that even though the administration has purported to rescind that memo and follow the court's orders, they say that there's some of their grants are still being frozen. So there really is this continuing fight, not only of whether what the administration has been doing is legal, but whether also they have been complying with some of these temporary court rulings.
Now, yesterday, a federal judge extended indefinitely the deadline for government workers to accept that buyout offer that's being pushed by Elon Musk and the White House. What does this ruling mean? Is the offer still valid while it plays out in the courts? And what other legal challenges does the buyout offer face?
It is still valid for now. This ruling temporarily extends the deadline for federal workers to accept these buyouts, but it's nothing more than preserving the status quo until the judge can issue a full ruling. The window most recently was expected to expire last night, Monday night at 11:59 p.m. on the East Coast. The judge did hold a hearing yesterday and got to the end of the hearing, but wasn't ready yet to issue the ruling. So instead, what the judge did is said, we'll extend the deadline until the judge can actually issue this ruling in writing. It's unclear exactly when that's going to happen. So the bottom line right now is the buyout offer is still on the table, at least until this judge issues his ruling. And then based on that, that'll determine the next steps.
In another move, the president ordered the Department of Justice to halt enforcement of a law barring American companies from bribing foreign officials. Trump has long complained that the law creates an unfair playing field for American firms. So in order to compete, we got to be able to bribe foreign officials too?
Yeah, I mean, the Trump administration we've now seen on a few different laws has said they are not going to enforce various laws. This being the most recent one, a law regarding foreign bribery. As you mentioned, Trump is no fan of this law. He has claimed that it creates an uneven playing field for American companies. It's been used in the past to levy some pretty heavy fines on companies that have been found to violate this law. Trump said in this announcement that it has, quote, been abused in a manner that harms the interests of the United States. So his administration saying they're not going to enforce this, just like they said they're not going to enforce the TikTok ban for at least 75 days.
And Trump is the target of yet another lawsuit, this time after firing a top whistleblower protector, the leader of the Office of Special Counsel, who was appointed by former President Biden, said he was fired in a one-sentence email. What do we know about the lawsuit, and does the president have the authority to remove this position?
So in this case, what the judge has done is temporarily the U.S. Special Counsel is back on the job, at least until Friday. But that's only until Friday. Then we're going to see another ruling as to whether the firing was legal and whether they can remain in their post past that. But this is just the latest in a series of challenges that we have seen to Trump's efforts to fire various officials across the federal bureaucracy. Now, various agencies, they're structured differently. Different officials have different removal protections. So each one of these firings and each one of these cases is a little bit different. But broadly speaking, these cases have really set up some key questions as to what is the president's removal authority, as well as some key Supreme Court precedents as to whether the president can remove people from some of these offices. So a lot more to come as these cases continue to climb into the higher courts.
And finally, the Justice Department has dropped charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Let's take a listen to what Adams had to say today.
So I thank the Justice Department for its honesty. Now we can put this cruel episode behind us and focus entirely on the future of our city. It's time to move forward.
Now, Zach Adams has recently cozied up to President Trump and has become more vocal about cracking down on illegal immigration. Is this Trump's doing?
Yeah, I mean, this came from the main Justice Department in Washington, D.C. This came in the form of a memo from the acting Deputy Attorney General, Emil Bovee, who was previously one of Trump's personal criminal defense attorneys. He sent a letter to prosecutors in the Southern District of New York, which I should actually mention Bovee used to work there, and that instructed prosecutors to drop this case. Now, I should note, even though DOJ wants to drop this case, it's going to have to be formally accepted by a judge. That has not happened yet. But that process with this new memo does seem to be moving along. And there really has been this question since the election and since Trump's inauguration of whether he would move here to pardon Adams, since, as you mentioned, he really has been cozying up to this administration. And now we have our answer.
All right, that's all I got for you, Zach Schonfeld. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Drew.
Gulf of America is now official on Google. The company has updated Google Maps for U.S.-based users and renamed the body of water formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico. The change comes after an executive order signed by President Trump on Inauguration Day. Google has made the change after the U.S. government updated the name on its official maps. Only users in the U.S. will see the Gulf of America name change. Users in Mexico will see Gulf of Mexico, and the rest of the world will see both names on Google Maps. How quick are President Trump's cabinet picks getting confirmed? NewsNation chief Washington correspondent Blake Berman has a look at how long it typically takes for president's cabinet picks to get through the Senate.
A new cabinet takes shape. I'm Blake Berman, host of The Hill on NewsNation. President Trump's cabinet nominees have been busy up on Capitol Hill these past few weeks, testifying before the United States Senate. That body must officially confirm each nominee before they start the job. Now, this chart right here from the Center for Presidential Transition shows how long it's taken to confirm president's key cabinet nominees this century. President George W. Bush and President Obama each had more than 5 cabinet officials confirmed on Inauguration Day. Bush had a fully confirmed cabinet on February 1st, while Obama's last cabinet official was not confirmed until late April. President Trump and President Biden's confirmations went at a slower pace. In Trump's first term, his cabinet took 3 months to be confirmed. Biden's took 2. So far, 10 of Trump's 15 cabinet officials have been confirmed. I'm Blake Berman, and this is the NewsNation Political Minute.
And you can find more news and analysis from Blake and our colleagues 24/7 on NewsNation. To find NewsNation on your screen, go to joinnn.com. That's today's Daily Debrief. I'm Drew Petrimoulx. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Hill's YouTube channel. And come back here soon for the intersection between politics and policy.